Hello again, welcome to Spotlight, the interview show on RT. I'm Al Grinov, and today we'll talk about the Red Cross. This year marks the 150th anniversary of the International Committee of the Red Cross. The committee was born as a federation of societies across the world that in case of war could provide trade volunteers. Today, military conflicts are no longer the primary focus of the Red Cross work, and its societies are usually among the first to respond to natural disasters. My guest today is Yaap Timmer, regional representative for Belarus, Moldova, Russia and Ukraine at the International Federation of the Red Cross.
Yaap Timmer is the regional representative for Belarus, Moldova, Russia and Ukraine at the International Federation of the Red Cross and Red Crescent Societies. Recently, the IFRC published its World Disasters Report. The document has been published annually since 1993, and it brings together the latest trends, facts and analysis of contemporary crisis, whether natural or man-made, with a quick onset of chronic progression. This report states that early warnings should be immediately followed up with early action, one of the key factors in saving lives and protecting people's livelihoods, more than could be achieved through an emergency response. Yaap Timmer is our guest in the studio today to talk about the World Disasters Report 2009.
Hello, Mr. Timmer. Thank you for being on the show with us.
My pleasure.
It's a pleasure having you here. Well, I've got this book that you brought with you called the World Disaster Report, a pretty thick book. Well, according to your statistics, to the Red Cross statistics, has the number of victims of natural disasters been rising or declining over the recent years?
Well, the report of 2009 showed that the figures are a little bit of an average, but in general we can say over the last 2-3 decades the number of disasters have increased.
Increased?
Yes,
absolutely. Do you see any reasons for that? For example, is global warming one of the reasons? No? Is there a connection?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, slowly everybody recognizes that climate change is affecting the climate conditions. We see more heavy storms, rains, extra floodings. So yes, it has absolutely.
So it is one of the major reasons.
There are more reasons. There are more reasons.
Like
I mean,
what?
Like increase of population. More people centering in cities. Migration is an issue. It's not only the climate change, but the climate change, as they say it also in the World Disaster Report, is an absolutely warning for us.
So the world leaders, I mean the G8, were absolutely right to put the measures on global warming at the center of the agenda of the G8 meetings.
Yes,
so they do have a reason for that.
Yes.
Good reason.
And also, I mean, we can take certain measures to avoid too many victims in the future. That's basically what we're saying as a Red Cross. If you see warning signs of coming up disasters, you can prepare yourself and reduce the number of victims.
Do you think this negative trend, the increase of number of victims of natural disasters, will this negative trend continue? Or do you have more hope that it will change for the better? What would you say? Are you an optimist or a pessimist in this respect?
Normally, I'm an optimist, but we are very realistic that the trend is upward in terms of disasters, and still continues, and we still fear that with the increase of the water level, the changes of temperature, that it absolutely will have effect on every country, including Russia, by the way. Yeah.
Well, if we look once again at this book, I haven't read it yet, you just brought it, but I'm sure that the Sichuan earthquake is here, because the Sichuan earthquake was one of the last year's biggest natural disasters. Yes. Around 46 million people were affected. More facts and figures in a report now by Spotlight's Elena Demidova.
A year after the deadly Sichuan earthquake, China still has a long way to go before completely recovering from the aftermath. Around 70,000 people were killed and a further 18,000 were reported missing. Up to 10,000 victims were children who were crushed in poorly built schools when the earthquake struck. The government has spent billions of US dollars on reconstruction work, but millions of people still remain homeless. and that was just one of last year's major natural disasters. In other parts of the world, the tropical cyclone Nargis hit Myanmar last May. The number of casualties was twice that of the Sichuan earthquake. Nargis was described as the second deadliest named cyclone of all time. Relief efforts were slowed down for political reasons, as Myanmar's military rulers initially resisted international aid. In the U.S., 7 states were affected by major flooding in June. The disaster left 13 dead. The total number of people affected was 11 million. The damage was estimated at tens of billions of US dollars. The World Disasters Report says all in all major natural disasters in 2008 affected 213 million people worldwide.
Well, as we've just seen, more than 200 million people were affected by natural disasters last year. Can you give any forecasts? Does this year have more disasters in store than last year? Do you have such a forecast service within the Red Cross? What should we expect?
Well, the speciality of a disaster is that you don't know that it's coming. I mean, and so far we have not had any serious disasters seen this year. But what is certainly coming is the influenza, the H1N1 influenza.
What we call the swine virus.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
The journalists call it the swine virus.
But this is the point. We can foresee in certain moments that there is a cyclone coming, there is a severe weather conditions. After long terms of rain, the earth is saturated and the chances of flash flood are there. So we can predict, say, in terms of months, weeks, hours, that something is emerging.
Mr. Timmer, so you've mentioned the swine flu as one of the major disasters predicted for this year. Well, we've made a couple of programs here in Russia Today about the flu, and I came to a conclusion that generally it's an ordinary flu. I mean, it's being cured by ordinary drugs that are used to cure ordinary flu. So what's so special about it? Why are people and organizations like your own so much afraid of this virus?
Well, it is still an epidemic. It is only, say, a few medicines which were very effective to it. It has killed a number of people. And the danger or the fear we have a little bit that it will develop in a more dangerous virus, which could affect more people compared to, say, the influenza.
So there can be a further mutation of the virus. This is what's worrying. Yeah. Okay. So do you think that something comparable to the pandemics of the 20th century happened this time? Can it be as dangerous as we've seen in the 1912?
1980, yeah. Well, we don't know exactly. The issue for us is not so much how does it develop. The issue is that we need a general preparedness for pandemics. And basically we were trying to develop a program here in Russia with the Russian Red Cross to inform the population, to prepare, say, the volunteers and the Red Cross organization as a whole for pandemics in general. This H1N1 influenza came a bit too early, in fact, because we're not completely prepared. But we are quite sure that a serious influenza will come. Yeah.
Well, this picture that we're having now here in the monitor, I've seen this picture a couple of weeks ago when I flew into the Moscow airport. They are tracking all the people, these special heat screening devices to catch the people with high temperature.